My sister staged a party to steal my daughter. When my daughter went missing, my mother cruelly kicked me out of the house. Get out of this house, and don't you dare show your face here again. My name is Marissa. I am 30 years old. If you had told me 5 years ago that I would be standing in a courtroom, holding my daughter's hand, and staring down my sister with the calm certainty of someone who has nothing left to lose, I would have laughed. Back then, I still believed in family. I still thought blood meant loyalty. I still clung to the hope that somewhere inside the cold indifference of my parents and the cutting perfection of my sister Harper, there was love. But I was wrong. And now I know better. Harper always got away with everything. When we were little, it was small things. Her breaking a vase and blaming me, her skipping chores and getting praised for leadership. When we got older, it got crueler. Harper mocked my clothes at Thanksgiving dinner while my mother smiled tightly and offered her more mashed potatoes. When Kevin died and I was drowning, my father told me to stop being dramatic and maybe consider remarrying for structure. But none of it compared to what they did to Maya. The way they humiliated her. The way they allowed Harper to hurt her. That was the moment something in me shattered. What they never realized was that while they ignored me, I was learning. While they dismissed me, I was adapting. While they handed Harper opportunities on a silver platter, I was building resilience in silence. And when the time came, I had every piece of proof I needed: audio, statements, professional evaluations. They never saw it coming, but they should have. This is not a story about revenge. This is about justice, about protecting a child when no one else would, about setting fire to a false image in order to rebuild something real. And if you think I walked away from that house broken, you are wrong. I walked away free. Stick around. Because what happened next did not just expose a toxic family. It exposed everything they had tried to bury for years. And I am going to show you exactly how I brought the truth into the light. Subscribe before you hear how a single drawing changed everything. Harper and I grew up under the same roof, but in different worlds. To my parents, she was the return on their investment. I was the leftover obligation. My father, Ronald, built his life like a portfolio. He measured everything in outcomes. My mother, Brooke, perfected the art of performance. She hosted smiled, posed, and whispered critiques behind silk napkins. When Harper walked into a room, they straightened. When I spoke, they blinked and returned to their wine. Harper was molded from the start. Ballet at 5, Model UN at 10, business camps by 13. When she got into Wharton Early Decision, they hosted a celebration with catered sushi and a violinist. When I got into a state school with a partial scholarship, I paid for my own bus ticket to orientation. I remember standing in the kitchen that summer with my acceptance email open. My father didn't look up from his tablet. My mother said it would be good for me to meet new people. We were not poor, not even close. My father was a partner at a mid-size investment firm in Boston. My mother had inherited property in Cape Cod from my grandfather. Our house had 5 bedrooms and a wine cellar, but emotional currency was always scarce. Approval came through comparison. Praise was a tool of leverage, and silence was punishment. That silence was loudest when it came to Harper, because to speak against her was to question the system, and the system had decided she was the product worth selling. At 16, Harper got a new Audi with a metallic finish and personalized plates. When I turned 16, I was handed the keys to our family's aging minivan. The left mirror was cracked. The passenger door didn't close right. My father's explanation was that I needed to learn responsibility. Harper, he said, had earned the car. I remember driving that minivan to a shift at the public library, clutching the steering wheel with both hands because the alignment pulled right. I told myself it didn't matter, that I would build something different. But building takes time, and time takes energy. After college, I worked odd jobs to support myself while finishing my architectural certification. I bartended at night. I assisted at a design studio during the day. I took freelance drafting jobs that paid in digital transfers from strangers. When Kevin proposed, I had $22 in my checking account and 3 months of unpaid invoices sitting in my inbox. He didn't care. He was a teacher with a quiet smile and an unshakable belief in good people. He made me believe it too. We had Maya 2 years later. Kevin cried harder than I did. I remember him whispering to her on the hospital bed, "You are going to be so loved." And she was. Every bath, every bedtime, every laugh that filled our tiny apartment. It wasn't glamorous, but it was full. Then Kevin got sick. It was aggressive. The diagnosis came on a Tuesday. He was gone by November. I was 25. Maya was 3. The insurance barely covered the medical bills. The funeral costs swallowed my emergency fund. I moved into a cheaper apartment above a pizza shop. I picked up extra hours and sold everything I didn't need. And when I finally called my parents, the response was efficient. "You should have told us sooner," my mother said. "Maybe it's time to think practically," my father added. Children need stability, structure, a father figure. Not once did they ask what Maya remembered. Not once did they ask how I was sleeping. Harper sent a card with a signature in blue ink and a gift card to a luxury spa. I used it to buy groceries. That Christmas, I mailed out holiday cards made with Maya's drawings. Harper posted a curated family photo shoot in Aspen. I remember zooming in on the photo. She had the same pearl earrings my mother always wore. She had the same pose, the same angle, the same smile. Meanwhile, I was surviving, and surviving taught me more than they ever realized. I learned how to build modular housing blueprints while feeding Maya mashed bananas. I studied sustainable design principles while waiting at the laundromat. I submitted proposals to small firms across the East Coast while Maya napped. And when Evergreen Design called back, I knew something had shifted. The firm specialized in urban sustainability. They were young, scrappy, hungry for innovation. They didn't care about Ivy League resumes. They cared about results. Within 6 months, I led my first proposal for a mixed-use housing project in the downtown corridor. Within a year, I was asked to oversee the design phase. And within 18 months, I was managing a team of 6. Harper posted about record real estate sales. I filed for a provisional patent on a flood-resistant foundation structure for low-income housing. Maya was 7 by then. She loved space and silence. She colored her dreams on old blueprints I brought home. She asked questions about airflow and shadows. She liked building. I enrolled her in weekend workshops at the city's design museum. She made a miniature greenhouse with repurposed straws and called it a safe house for bees. It won a ribbon. She didn't care. She gave it to her science teacher and told him to plant tomatoes inside. I was creating a life. Not perfect, but stable. And when my mother called that spring to say Harper had invited us to the lake house for the family reunion, I paused. It had been 3 years since we'd all been in the same place. Maya didn't remember them. I debated saying no, but then Maya walked into the kitchen holding a drawing. It was a picture of our apartment, me standing next to her, a tall woman with brown hair standing at the door. She said it was a picture of family. I said yes. I told myself maybe things had changed, that Harper had grown, that maybe the tension was just old wounds. I told myself it was one weekend, just one. But I was wrong. Because some people do not grow. They evolve into sharper versions of themselves, more polite, more curated, more dangerous. And what happened that weekend at the lake house exposed not just their cruelty, but their intentions. What they did to Maya made everything before it look like shadows. This wasn't about preference anymore. It was about power, about ownership, about erasure. And when I opened my father's study drawer and found what they had planned for Maya's trust fund, the story shifted. They thought I would walk away like always. But this time I had proof. This time I had leverage. This time I had something they couldn't buy or bury. And I was ready. We arrive at the lake house just after 4 in the afternoon. The sun is low. The gravel crunches under my tires as I park beside Harper's new Range Rover. Maya presses her nose to the window and whispers, "It looks like a castle." I smile without answering. From the outside, the house is picturesque. Stone columns, sloping roof lines, glass doors that open to the lake. Everything about it screams curated wealth, but I know better. I know how cold those walls feel once the performance ends. Harper meets us at the door. She is wearing a white linen dress and holding a glass of wine. Her smile is wide, too wide. She pulls Maya into a side hug and says, "Look at you. So big." Then turns to me with a nod. "You made it." No hug, no warmth, just confirmation. I step inside and feel the air shift. The smell of rosemary and lemon fills the space. My mother appears from the kitchen apron, crisp and clean. She does not make eye contact. Dinner is at 6. Appetizers on the patio. Harper pours me a drink and gestures toward the lake. I find a seat away from the others. Maya skips stones near the edge while the adults talk in low, polished voices. I watch her shoes sink slightly into the wet sand. She is wearing the dress she picked out herself. Yellow, with tiny bees printed across the hem. Her hair is pulled back with a blue ribbon she said reminded her of the sky. Connor arrives an hour later. He is Harper's husband, a corporate attorney with an expensive watch and no detectable soul. He shakes my hand like he is closing a deal and immediately starts talking about his recent case. Something about arbitration and international logistics. I nod, though I am not listening. I am watching Maya. By dessert, the show is in full swing. Harper leads a toast. My father brags about Harper's recent investment property in the Berkshires. My mother says Maya should consider ballet like Harper once did. I say nothing. Maya pokes at her cheesecake with a fork and glances toward the hallway. I excuse her to go wash up. She disappears down the corridor, feet barely making a sound. 10 minutes pass, then 15. I get up quietly and follow. I find her near the study. The door is ajar. She is standing still, staring at something on the desk. When she hears me, she turns quickly, eyes wide. I kneel beside her and ask if she is okay. She nods slowly and whispers, "I didn't touch anything." I look past her into the room. The desk is covered in paperwork. Estate planning documents, trust allocations. A printed email with my name in the subject line. I step closer. My name is bolded again. Under it, a phrase jumps out. "Terminate guardian custody." My stomach drops. I scan the rest. It is a draft from Harper's attorney. A petition for emergency guardianship transfer. Maya's name is mentioned 5 times. Each reference paints me as unstable, overworked, emotionally compromised. But then I notice something strange. The document is not inside a file. It is printed and left directly on the desk, sitting there, exposed, as if waiting. My eyes flick to the hallway. The door creaks behind me. Harper is there. She looks at the papers, then at me. I see no shame, only strategy. "I can explain," she says. I stand. I say nothing. Maya clutches my hand. Harper folds her arms. "It was just an option." "You work a lot." Maya deserves more structure, more opportunities. Her words are smooth, practiced, like she has rehearsed them. My voice is calm. "You planted this." She tilts her head. "If you see conspiracies, maybe the petition is more valid than I thought." She leaves the room. That night, I do not sleep. Maya curls beside me in the guest room, small and still. I stare at the ceiling and feel something calcify inside me. This is no longer about family. This is a campaign, a coordinated attempt to erase me from my own daughter's life. And I know exactly how they plan to do it. The next morning, I pack our bags before sunrise. Maya is quiet during the drive back. She knows. Children always know. I call Jenna as soon as we get home. She is my best friend and a paralegal. I tell her everything. The documents, the conversation, the look on Harper's face. "You need to get ahead of this," she says. I start gathering records. Employment contracts, apartment lease, Maya's school reports, medical logs. Everything that proves stability. I request a copy of Harper's petition from the court. It has not been filed yet, but the draft is real. Jenna connects me with a custody attorney. We meet that Thursday. Her name is Alina. She is sharp, direct. She does not smile often. I like her instantly. She reviews the documents and nods. This is preemptive, she says. They are testing the waters, trying to provoke a response. If you react emotionally, they will use it against you. If you do nothing, they may escalate. What do I do? We prepare, she says, quietly. I follow her instructions. We document everything. We request Maya's school counselor to write a letter confirming her emotional and academic stability. We gather witness statements from neighbors and coworkers. Every Thursday, I meet with Alina to strategize. Every night, I double lock the front door. A week later, Harper shows up at Maya's school, unannounced. She tells the front office she is Maya's aunt. She brings cupcakes, says she wants to surprise her. The school follows protocol. They call me immediately. I leave work in the middle of a meeting. I arrive to find Harper smiling in the lobby. Maya stands behind the glass door, confused. This is inappropriate, I tell her. She shrugs. Family visit? Nothing illegal? I walk away. That night, Maya asks if Harper is mad at me. I tell her no. I tell her people sometimes confuse control with love. She does not understand yet. But one day she will. 2 days later, I find a letter in my mailbox. It is not official. No return address. Just one sentence typed on white paper. You are not enough. I know it is them. I show Alina. She logs it. We install a camera by the door. Maya begins sleeping with the lights on. I pretend not to notice. Weeks pass. Harper files the petition. This time, it is real. She lists Maya's best interest as her motivation. She includes screenshots from my old social media account, posts from years ago, a photo of Maya asleep on my lap during a night shift, a joke about exhaustion. She frames it as evidence of neglect. The court sets a preliminary hearing. I do not tell Maya. Alina prepares the statement. We gather our case, work records, Maya's progress, character references. The school counselor agrees to testify. So does my supervisor. So does our neighbor, the one who helped me fix the sink last winter, the one who brings Maya flowers from her garden. The day of the hearing arrives. I wear a black suit. Maya stays home with Jenna. Harper walks in with a full legal team. Her husband sits behind her. My parents are on her side of the gallery. I do not look at them. The judge is a woman. Early 60s, steady voice. She asks questions. I answer carefully. I focus on facts. I do not cry. Harper speaks about structure, about opportunity, about her resources. Her lawyer presents financial spreadsheets and school plans. It is polished, clinical. Alina counters. She presents Maya's artwork, her letters, her teacher's report. She asks the judge to consider not just safety, but trust, not just access, but attachment. She plays a voicemail from Maya. A simple message. I love you, Mommy. I miss you when you work late. But I made you a card. The courtroom is silent. The judge requests a recess. I walk into the hallway and feel my knees weaken. Jenna texts, Maya is painting. The judge returns 20 minutes later. She denies the petition. Her statement is short. Maya is not just physically safe. She is emotionally anchored. Stability is not measured in income. It is measured in intention. Petition dismissed. I do not celebrate. I exhale. Harper leaves without a word. My parents avoid my eyes. That night, Maya and I eat spaghetti on the couch. She does not know what I fought for. She only knows that I am home. I tuck her in and sit beside her bed. She whispers, Are we okay? Yes, I say. We are okay now. 3 days after the hearing, my father calls. I let it ring. He leaves a message, says he wants to talk, says things have gotten out of hand. I save it but don't respond. 2 hours later, my mother sends an email. No greeting, no subject line, just one sentence. You are making this worse than it needs to be. I delete it without opening the attachment. I know exactly what this is. The ruling embarrassed them. For once, the narrative slipped out of their control, and now they are scrambling. The people who built a life on quiet manipulation are suddenly exposed, and they do not like it. But this is what happens when you try to use a child as leverage and get caught. That weekend, Jenna comes over. We sit on the floor of my living room sorting through documents again. She's cross-referencing timelines. I am labeling digital files. Everything is stored on an encrypted drive now. This is no longer just personal. This is defense. We review the events from the lake house again. The draft guardianship papers. Maya finding them first. Harper's lack of surprise. The calm, rehearsed way she called me unstable. It was not an accident. She wanted me to see them. She wanted me to react, to explode, to fall into the trap of emotional volatility so she could use it in court. But I didn't. I held the line. And that might be the only reason I still have custody. I think she thought I would crack. She was wrong. The next week, I receive a letter from the city's zoning compliance office. An anonymous complaint has been filed against my firm, allegations of improper permitting and design irregularities. The language is formal, but vague. It references one of my recent projects downtown, says I bypassed approval on flood mitigation designs. It's false, but serious. Alina reviews the document and raises her eyebrows. This is targeted, she says. And it's not random. She's right. We both know exactly where it came from. I dig through my inbox. I find the time-stamped records, the permit approvals, the inspection reports. Jenna helps me draft a rebuttal. Reggie, my team lead, calls a meeting. I tell them the truth, not the personal parts, but enough. That someone is trying to discredit me for reasons unrelated to the job. That I can prove the complaint is manufactured. Reggie listens. He glances around the room. Then says, "You keep your head down, we'll handle the noise." 2 days later, Jenna texts me a screenshot. It's metadata from a proxy email address connected to the complaint. Registered in Connor's name, Harper's husband. The attorney who smiled too easily. Who shook my hand like I was an inconvenience. His fingerprints are on the attack. They are escalating. I pull up a folder I never thought I would need. Inside is every scrap I ever collected on Harper. Not out of suspicion. Out of habit, screenshots, voicemails, conversations she thought I was too passive to remember. I was always listening, always watching. Quiet doesn't mean unaware. One recording stands out. A dinner 2 years ago. Harper laughing about a zoning loophole, bragging about paying off a safety inspector to push a flip through faster. I had recorded it by accident testing a transcription app. But it's clear. Her voice, her words, her arrogance. I send it to a contact from college. He writes for the Tribune now, focuses on white-collar fraud and ethics in real estate. I don't ask for a favor. I just give him the file and say, look into it. Do what you think is right. 3 days later, the article goes live. It is brutal. It outlines Harper's last 6 property flips, inconsistencies in inspections, a pattern of manipulation. Quotes from anonymous sources, contractors, agents, even a former intern. It ends with a quiet gut punch. Her nonprofit, the one that raised money for affordable housing awareness, was never legally registered with the IRS. The fallout is immediate. Her company issues a statement. They're launching an internal audit. Harper deletes her LinkedIn. Her social media goes dark. My father calls again. This time, he leaves a message laced with fury. He accuses me of destroying Harper's life, of damaging the family's reputation. As if reputation ever mattered more than Maya's safety. I don't call back. Maya starts sleeping better. She hums again while brushing her teeth. Her drawings come back, colorful, layered. She paints our balcony garden with wild vines and stars in the soil. I frame it. But the retaliation isn't over. A week later, Harper shows up at Maya's school again. She tells the front desk she's Maya's aunt, brings cupcakes, says it's for Family Appreciation Day. The school follows procedure. They call me immediately. I leave work mid-meeting and arrive just as she's walking out of the building. She smiles when she sees me. It is the smile of someone who wants control more than peace. I say, "This is harassment." She shrugs. "I'm just visiting family. Nothing illegal about that." I don't answer. I take Maya's hand and walk away. That night, Maya is quiet. At bedtime, she asks, "Did I do something wrong? Why is Aunt Harper mad?" I hold her and say, "You did nothing wrong, and Aunt Harper is not angry. She is confused about what matters, about what love really means." She nods, but I can see the worry. I tuck her in with the light on. The next morning, I install a second lock. 2 days later, an unmarked envelope appears in our mailbox. Inside is a single sentence typed on plain paper. "You are not enough." No return address, no signature. I show Alina. She adds it to our file. Harassment, patterned behavior. We begin preparing a cease and desist letter. At work, I double-check every design file. I move all personal files offline. My team keeps morale up, but I can feel the tension. This isn't just a family dispute anymore. It's a siege. Then Harper files a second petition. This time it's official. She uses the same firm. Lists new claims. Misquotes a photo I posted years ago of Maya asleep on my lap. Pulls fragments from emails. Phrases out of context. She claims Maya is showing signs of emotional distress, that I am overworked, that my grief still affects my judgment. Alina calls me the minute it comes through. We meet, prepare. This time we fight back harder. I submit work evaluations. Letters from Maya's teacher, her pediatrician, our neighbor. Alina submits the footage from the school. The letter, the zoning complaint, metadata. The judge receives a full timeline. At the hearing, Harper arrives alone. No husband, no team, just her. She speaks calmly, dresses like humility, says she just wants what's best for Maya. The judge listens, then turns to me. I speak slowly, directly. I present facts, not emotion, not accusations. I end by saying my daughter deserves safety, and safety is not something you buy, it's something you build. The judge doesn't hesitate. Petition denied. Again, this time with a written warning. Any further interference may result in restraining measures. Harper leaves the courtroom without looking at me. I do not follow. Outside, I find a message from Jenna. Maya is at the park, laughing, painting a stone to look like a ladybug. I sit on the courthouse steps, not triumphant, just still. That night, Maya asks what happened. I tell her the truth in pieces, that sometimes people want control because they don't understand love, that sometimes standing still is braver than fighting, that we are okay now, not perfect, but safe. She listens, then says, "Can we make pancakes for dinner?" Yes, we can make pancakes, and we do. Summer comes early this year. The air feels warmer than it should. The trees bloom before the calendar says they should. Maya finishes second grade with a drawing award and a note from her teacher that reads, "She leads quietly, but the others follow." I take the note and pin it above my desk. At work, the pace quickens. The firm lands a contract with the city for a sustainability complex. I am assigned lead design. It is the biggest project I have ever touched. I draft proposals late at night after Maya falls asleep. I rewrite entire layouts with her pencil sketches nearby. She draws gardens on rooftops, sunlight through skylights, animals hidden in the architecture. I leave the animals in. Harper has gone quiet. Her accounts are dormant. Her firm's name appears less in trade journals. The last article about her includes the phrase "pending investigation." My phone buzzes now and then with gossip from mutual acquaintances. I do not respond. I do not need to know what becomes of her image. I am focused on what I am building. But even silence has a sound. One evening, as I am folding towels in the laundry room, Maya asks if we are ever going back to the lake house. I pause. She is sitting on the floor, flipping through an old photo album. I walk over and sit beside her. She is looking at a picture of me and Kevin. We are standing by the water. He is holding a tiny Maya wrapped in a yellow blanket. I say we are building our own places now. She nods. Then she says I remember what Harper said about me. I wait. She looks at the photo and says, "She said I was a distraction, that you used me as an excuse." I do not ask when she heard it. I do not ask how long she has carried it. I put my hand on her back and say, "You are not an excuse. You are the reason everything good in my life exists." She does not cry, she just nods again. Later that night, I write a letter. It is not for Harper, not for my parents. It is for Maya. I write about Kevin. about the way he once stayed up all night sewing buttons onto a costume she needed for preschool. I write about the day she was born, about how quiet the room became when she opened her eyes. I write about the first time I saw her hold a pencil and draw a doorway with no walls. I tell her she is the bravest person I know. I seal it and place it in the safe. One day when she is older, she will read it. In early August, I receive an invitation. Not from Harper, from my mother. She is hosting a small luncheon at a private club. The card is thick, embossed. She includes a note. I know things cannot return to what they were, but perhaps we can begin again. I stare at the words for a long time. Then I make a decision. I go. Not for them, for myself. I wear a gray dress and simple earrings. Maya stays with Jenna. I arrive at the club 10 minutes early. My mother is already there. She is dressed in navy and pearls. Her smile is tentative. We sit. She orders tea. I ask for water. For several minutes, we talk about nothing. The weather, the club renovations. Then she sets her cup down and says, I want to apologize. I do not stop her. She continues, says she was raised to believe that love is quiet, that showing too much was weakness, that parenting was about correction, not comfort. She says she regrets not seeing me, not seeing Maya, not stepping in when she should have. Her voice shakes, slightly, but it does. I ask one question. Did you believe Harper? She does not answer right away. Then she says I believed what was easier. And now I see what I missed. We do not hug. We do not pretend this is healing. But we finish lunch. And when I leave, I do not look back. That night I write down what she said. I add it to the file I have kept since the first hearing. Not because I need it for court, but because remembering matters. The months pass. The city project moves forward. Maya starts painting on canvas instead of paper. She asks if we can plant something on the balcony. We plant mint and basil. Every morning she checks the soil. In October, I attend an awards ceremony for the design community. I do not expect to win. But when they call my name, I walk to the podium and look out at the crowd. I speak clearly. I thank my team. I thank the city for trusting new voices. Then I say one sentence I had written and rewritten in my head for weeks. Sometimes the structures we inherit are broken, but we can design new ones. Ones that hold, ones that last. The room is quiet. Then they clap. Afterward, a woman approaches me. She says she read the Tribune articles, that she went through something similar, that her sister tried to take her daughter too. We talk for 10 minutes, then 15. Before she leaves, she hugs me. Not out of sympathy, out of recognition. Back home, Maya is asleep. I stand by her door and listen to her breathing. It is the sound of peace, of safety, of something hard won. And in that moment, I know the war is over. Not because I destroyed Harper, but because I refused to let her define me, because I chose the hard way. And it worked. 6 months have passed since the last time I heard Harper's name spoken aloud in our home. Not because she has disappeared, but because her presence no longer shapes our days. That silence is not avoidance. It is relief. It is what healing sounds like. I still wake early. My body keeps its rhythm. I walk the same streets to work, past the same neighbors, drink from the same chipped mug I bought after Kevin died. The world around me has not changed, but I have. I walk taller now, not out of pride, but because I carry less weight. Maya is thriving. She joins the school's garden club. She writes a poem about roots and gets asked to read it at assembly. I sit in the back row and listen as her small voice carries across the room. She mispronounces chlorophyll, then laughs at herself and keeps reading. No shame, just light. Afterward, she runs to me and asks if we can make pizza with our own basil again. We do, that night, in pajamas. No one is watching. No one is measuring us. And still it feels like victory. I do not follow Harper's updates. I know her firm was fined, that she stepped down from the board, that her husband has kept his position, though quietly. My mother sends occasional emails. She asks how Maya is. She signs her name with care. Brooke. Never Mom. I let it be. One evening, as Maya and I walk home from the library, she asks what my job is. I pause, then answer slowly. I design spaces that make people feel safe. I help build homes, schools, places where people can breathe. She thinks for a second, then says, "That's kind of what you did for us too." I smile, because she is right. I spent years thinking my role in life was to stay quiet, to keep peace, to absorb impact. I believed that dignity came from endurance, that if I held still long enough, things would fix themselves. But nothing fixes itself. Hurt, if left unchecked, becomes inheritance. Neglect repeats, silence echoes. I know this now, so I make noise when it matters. Last month, I was asked to speak at a university symposium on ethical housing. The panel included 2 city planners, an environmental consultant, and a retired architect with more awards than I could count. I almost said no. I worried my story was too personal, that I had too much history and not enough polish. But then I remembered the woman from the awards night, the way she looked at me, like I had said something she had been trying to say for years. So I said yes. The hall was full. I wore a navy suit and no makeup. I opened with a photo of Maya's greenhouse model. Then I spoke about structure, not just physical, but emotional. About the systems we inherit and the ones we design. I said that homes should not just shelter us from weather. They should shelter us from harm, from legacy, from fear. Afterward, a student approached me. He said his sister was raising his nephew after their parents disowned her. He said watching her taught him what love really looked like. He thanked me for putting words to it. I sat in my car for 20 minutes before driving home. Sometimes the hardest part of survival is accepting that you made it, that you are no longer in the storm. That peace is not the same as emptiness. It is not always quiet. Sometimes it hums. Jenna still visits most weekends. She brings Maya tiny watercolor sets and stays for dinner. She has started dating someone, a nurse. They send me plant pictures and meal disasters. I tell her I hope it lasts. She says she hopes it just stays honest. Alina and I exchange texts. She sends me legal memes. I send her photos of the balcony garden. She says if I ever write a memoir, she wants a chapter. Maybe I will. 1 chapter, 1 seed, 1 design at a time. Maya turns 9 in spring. She wants a night picnic. She says lanterns and soup in thermoses, blankets, and a playlist of her favorite songs. I say yes. I always say yes now. We invite her friends from school. We make a cake shaped like a treehouse. She says it is not perfect. I say that is what makes it beautiful. At the end of the night, after everyone leaves, she climbs into my lap and whispers, "Thank you for choosing me." I hug her tighter. But the truth is, she chose me too. She chose me every time she laughed instead of hiding. Every time she painted instead of closing in. Every time she trusted me after being told she shouldn't. She made me brave. People ask what changed. I used to say everything. Now I say clarity. Because once you see the truth, you cannot unsee it. You cannot go back to pretending you are small. You cannot stay where people diminish you for sport. You learn to leave, to speak, to document, to protect, and eventually to grow again. The lake house is still there. Someone told me it was listed for sale. I looked at the listing once. The photos are bright. The captions talk about potential. There is a new deck. The study looks untouched. I do not feel anger. I do not feel nostalgia. I feel distance. That place is no longer part of our story. Our story is here. In this 2-bedroom apartment filled with drawings and herbs and cardboard cities. In the way we say goodnight. In the way we eat spaghetti on Mondays because Maya says routine makes things feel real. This is what real feels like. Not flawless, but grounded. Built from scratch, reinforced with intention, and still standing, always standing.